it's Kogi from creativekogi.com, and today is Wednesday the 28th of June, and I'm coming to you from South Africa, and it's winter. It is very cold. It is a very cold day. It is very dull outside, so the lighting here is probably not great, but I have somewhere to be today, and I have to leave quite shortly, and I thought there's a good opportunity to come in and have a quick catch up and an update, because I know that I'm restricted by time, so then I wouldn't ramble on, because I seem to do that in all the podcasts. So I'm going to be very strict with my time today, and I'm going to try and keep it very short. So yes, I'm wearing the Moonwake cowl by Andrea Mowry. This is a really easy one to knit up, colorwork knitting. There are areas where there are areas where you carry the float over five stitches, but it's not too bad, because with these infinity cowls, all of your floats are on the inside, so you don't have to stress too much about whether it's going to look too untidy, or whether you just carry a long float instead of sort of catching it every 3 stitches or whatever. This one is knitted in a combination of yarns. I can't tell you exactly what it is. It might be in my Ravelry project page. It's had a lot of use, so I've used it a lot. It's been washed several times, and there's quite a lot of pilling. So yeah, it needs to be what do you call it? You need to get one of these goodies, and I actually need to remove the pilling. I'm not going to say what brand it is or anything, but you could easily find one of these. So yes, what are we talking about today? Let's talk about finished objects. I have a finished object. I do. But I did not take a photograph of it, because it was all very last minute, and it was a gift for a teacher who is leaving the school, and it was a special request from my son, because he really likes this teacher, and he said to me, can you please knit something as a goodbye present, and it has to be in wool, because she loves sheep. So I knitted the DRK Everyday Cowl in the size adult large. And do I have the yarn here? No, I put it away. I actually knitted it in DK weight Cowgirl Blues superwash yarn. So yeah, so I should have taken a photo for Ravelry, but it was very rushed, and then he forgot to take it to school, and then I had to rush off to school to drop it off so he could give it to her, and then get myself to the office, because it was a Friday. So so I did have a finished object, and that knit is actually it's such a nice one to do. It's very simple. You just need to know how to work an I-cord edge, and you need to know what is your knit stitch and your purl stitch, but you can always put in markers as to where your slip stitches are, because it creates kind of these ridges on the pattern. But I will link to this, as well as the DRK Everyday Cowl. So if you haven't tried it, that's something you could do. I would put it. I would say color work. Yeah, I think a beginner would do this easily, and the Everyday Cowl is definitely beginner level. There's nothing complicated or difficult or anything about it. It is knitted flat, and then you seam it at the end using a mattress stitch. Right, so works in progress though. Oh wait, no, I do have more finished objects. I have a little pile of baby hats that's growing, and They are really awesome little. They newborn size, and they are stretchy. So I've used the long tail cast on to make sure that it's stretchy, and then I think the baby could use this. I don't know. Babies grow quite fast, maybe for up to 3 months or so. Um, so yeah, so this will be my sort of charity contribution, and because they go so fast, I have been, um, like when I get a chance, then I'd like to make one or two, and I'll tell you in a little bit why I've started doing these. So those would also be finished objects. Yes, so me coming in to have a chat, it's completely unscripted. I talk off the top of my head. I get sidetracked and distracted and completely derailed a lot. But it is the way I am, and although I am a very structured person generally, and I make lists and I like to be quite organized, and I think that is mainly with work, and for me this feels almost like a space where I could just be free and not be boxed in almost. So that's why a lot of what I say is not sort of scripted, and I can go off on a tangent. So it is good that I have somewhere to be today, and as I'm speaking to you, I'm also very mindful of the time so that I could keep this one relatively short. So one of the reasons why I wanted to also come in today and have a chat with you is because I'm not very good at being consistent with being online, with sharing progress, with the podcast. I could not be yeah I would not be described as a regular podcaster, because I have done so and you would see it if you have watched any of my previous episodes, that I would come in all excited, with lots of energy and lots of plans and wanting to be here regularly, and then months or even a year would pass by and then I've like disappeared off the planet. And the thing is, I have to give priority to work, and when I do get a chance to focus on my crafts, it's usually very late at night, and it isn't always the best time to do a podcast, because the lighting's never right, and well, not that the lighting's right now, but yes, anyway. So and now today's not the best day either, because it is school holidays and both the kids are at home, and I have my door locked because they sometimes barge in. I'm still teaching them to be well mannered, but even with the door locked, they sometimes hammer on the door because they can't find something or they need something or whatever. But I have it locked because I've just come out of a meeting and I really didn't want to be disturbed, and I've left it locked, so they should not come in. So what is it that I was going to talk about next? Okay, my works in progress, my whips. I've got 2 test knits on the go, and yes, I should actually only sign up for 1 test knit at a time, but they're 2 very different projects, and they kind of like, when you get bored of the one, you can do the other, and the deadlines are only in August for both of them, and so I think I would easily complete these by the deadline. So because they've been posted online and it's not a secret test knit, I can show you. So the first one is a cardigan, and you can see I've already separated for the sleeves. This is knitted in the size 8 to 10 years. This is the Trucking Along cardigan. It's by Rachel Kleinhans. So I think it's Rachie Knits is what she calls herself. And then the side panel, look how gorgeous that is. So it's pretty much plain stocking stitch. It's knitted flat, so you've got to do knit and purl rows, and then the side has this gorgeous pattern. I love it. I actually think that I would knit myself a sweater maybe, and have this pattern running down, yeah, I'm not sure, running down the middle, or even if it ran weirdly under the arm all the way to the bottom, would actually be kind of cool. I think, not that anyone's going to look under your arms. I would think that is not where people look at, but I think it would create such a nice kind of flowy effect. So yeah, maybe that's something that Rachel might want to design. But I love it. I love this pattern. I am completely addicted to it. I have to knit and measure from this point to the end. I have to measure 30 centimeters before I do the ribbing, and I think I'm very, very close to the end. I really want to finish this last one and then take a quick measurement and see. And I'll see if I could bring it a bit closer. But it's beautiful, and these stitches really pop. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I've got this cardigan. It's in El Merino. I've got the label here, so it's in this one. It's El Merino, and the color of this is sheepskin. In fact, I have bought, I think I might have all the colors. We'll talk about that one just now too. But I asked Natalia to choose one, and I said to her, when you're choosing your color, just remember it must go with all of your dresses. So which color do you think would work best? And she chose this one, sheepskin, and I think it's going to go with a lot of what she has in a cupboard. Or I mean, it's such a neutral color, it will go with anything really. So yeah, if you heard that sound, that's the kids. So anyway, that's the one that I'm busy on. And so yeah, I think very shortly I would do the rib and I would finish off the sleeves and I'm done. And and then I would have to do the button band. So yeah, this one's been quite fun, and I've completely enjoyed it. And then I have, so I told you about the hat that I knitted, and I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce it because it is Danish inspired, and so it's Susan. And so I googled how would you say like Susan in Danish, and it's Susan. So I think that's right. And the motive, so the description of the pattern, and again this one I can show because it is online. This one's by Kirsten Michelle, and what she says is that these motives are inspired from the Danish nightshirt tradition. And what I've realized is, and I've actually made quite good progress. I love this. This is the provisional cast on, and I think I might have already spoken about this in a previous video. But here's the thing. So I've been working the pattern, and it looks great. I think it looks great. You're not seeing it very close up, so you're probably not seeing that the stitches are not popping as much as they are popping on this one. And so what I realized is it's exactly the same stitch, and it's just because it's left, it's a 1x1 right leaning or a 1x1 left leaning. And what I did here was I did it more as a cabling without a needle stitch. But what I did here was I worked the two stitches whilst they were still on the left needle, without having to slip a stitch off and hold it and put it back in. So those of you who cable without a needle would understand what I'm saying. Because when you cable without a needle, you literally pick the stitch up, you kind of support it so that it doesn't slip away, and then you knit the next stitch and you put the stitch that you kind of supporting back onto the needle. So at some point you have a stitch that is just off the needle. And the way this one's worked is they actually don't leave the needles. They worked with the stitches remaining on the needle. So the symbol's exactly the same and the stitch is the same. They're just different patterns. And I realized that if I work the stitches whilst they're still on the needle, they pop better and they make the pattern look better. And I've made quite a lot of progress. In fact, I've already on this one separated for the sleeves, but when I go back and I look at it, I'm not feeling the joy. I felt the joy when I did it, and then I started doing the other one, and now I'm not feeling the joy on this one anymore. And so I want to go back and work it in this different method that I've learned, and it's actually on a YouTube video. I YouTubed it, and that's where I learned how to work the 2 stitches whilst keeping them on your needle. So this one at the moment is actually not bringing me joy. I love the pattern. I love the way it's written. I love the way it's designed, and it's not the design, it's the way I've knitted it. And because the deadline is August and I know that I have a lot of time, I've actually decided to rip it back. I'm going to rip it all the way back to my ribbed neckline, and then I'm going to rework this so that it has that same effect and that same pop, and then I think it would make those stitches look so much better. The sun's just come out and it's really bright all of a sudden, but it's not going to last because it is quite a cloudy overcast day. So yeah, I've decided to do that, and I've been sort of sitting and wondering, do I really want to do that? I mean, I've made so much progress, I've knitted so much, shouldn't I just continue? And I thought about it, and I've realized that if it's not going to bring joy, and if it's not going to like spark joy, and you know you could have done it better, then it's better to open it. I think you need to do things that make you happy. And every time I look at it, I'm going to think maybe I should have ripped it back a bit. So yeah, I'm doing it. I'm going to rip back and work it again. And it's an easy pattern, it's easy to memorize, so I'm not stressing about the chart or anything like that. But I am definitely going to rip this back and work it again to make the stitches pop, and also avoid, you know, in some instances you'll find that some of my stitches got a bit looser when I was like taking them off the needle to do the cable work almost. So yeah, this will be a work in progress for a while longer. So yeah, lots of progress made, but it's going to be ripped out, and I might shed a tear or two whilst I'm doing it, but I think at the end of the day, if it's not going to make me happy, I've got to do it right. And so I want to do this one again. So yes, the other thing I want to say is that besides being unscripted, I don't like organize around me before podcast. I just sit in my space that is my space every day. So what you do see around me might change, or it might be the same. It might be a messed up desk, but it's just because I've had a lot to do. And yeah, and when I say that I'm generally organized with life, I am, because what you can't see here is I've got the calendar, and this is for the kids' school activity, so I know exactly what's happening when. So I'm organized in that way, and I make lists of tasks to do and tick them off, and that is how I organize my life. I work a budget with a spreadsheet. So when I sit here and you listen to me like all over the place, I'm actually not really like that in everything else that I do. It is just, I find this, let's call this the safe creative space, because I think you can't, sometimes if you're too structured, it might limit your creativity. There you go. Too much structure limits your creativity. I've just coined that one now. So yes, I've spoken to you about my works in progress. I spoke to you about this this one I forgot to tell you, or I can't remember now if I did. But if you're knitting a lot for charity, there's a website it's called Mariana, or Mariana Lazy Daisy Designs, and there's lots of free baby patterns. So there's lots of baby hats and little baby cardigans, and that's where I got the sort of general pattern from. And then I got bored and I got creative on some. So this is just the basic pattern is from there, but the stitches I've just, some of them I just made up. So there were two things I wanted to actually talk about, and not I wanted to actually really have a meaningful discussion. But I want to mention a podcast that I've mentioned previously, and if you haven't watched it, I really would recommend it. I love it. I love it. It's called Danish Musings. We've spoken about it before. On the latest episode of Danish Musings, and I think it might be episode 7 of her knitting videos, she talks about yarn stash and mindfulness, and I have mentioned to you before why I thoroughly enjoy her videos, because they're very insightful, and whenever she has a beautiful voice, firstly, but I kind of hang on to every word that she's saying, because there's always like pearls of wisdom. But in this particular episode, she shows you her work in progress and her finished objects and that, and her yarn, and then she talks a little bit about yarn stash and hoarding, and being a little bit mindful about what you have and what you buy. And it kind of hit home a little bit for me, because I am a hoarder of note. I mean, I think there was one point where my local yarn shop had said to me, Kogi, I think you have more yarn than we have on our shelves at the moment. And I don't think that's something to be proud about, because I see firstly sales. I have Radar for sales. If it's on sale, then you buy a lot for a project that you might or might never make. And so it just made me think a little bit about what I have and what I have in my collection, and why I bought it. And I know at the time when I was buying a lot of yarn, when it was on sale or on special or whatever, I was also doing a lot of charity blankets, which I haven't done in a long time. And so I've decided that actually I need to go back to what I enjoy doing. So I enjoy knitting for my daughter. My son doesn't like the feel of yarn against his skin. He's happier to wear a jacket, not a jersey. My husband would love he'd love a sweater or a jersey, whatever you call it. But he's big. He's a big guy. And so I would need a lot of yarn, and I would actually it would take a while to do it, because sometimes I get a little bit bored with the pattern and then I want to move on to another project. So I think he would love it and he would appreciate it, and that's what I should actually do. But I do knit a lot for Talia, and she loves this kind of thing. She loves cowls, and that keyhole scarf that I'd mentioned in a previous episode, she loves it, and she would love to have that in lots of pinks and purples. So her only request is that it has to be rainbow colors, or girly colors. And I don't really have all of those colors in my stash. So that episode by Danish Musings, really got me thinking about my own yarn collection. But also, if you've ever watched Fruity Knitting, you would have heard Andrea say, I don't have a yarn stash. And when I heard her say that a few times, I thought, how can you not have a yarn stash? I mean, it's not possible. But I wish I could actually get to a point where I don't have a stash, or a huge stash, where I have boxes, and if I turn this, I'm afraid I'm going to not be able to get this back. So actually, let me try. I'm going to try and turn this slightly. I don't know if you can see that, but I have, and I've got to get this set up there again. There we go. I have lots of yarn, and what you saw on the top in the boxes, that's my good yarn. But in the cupboards, I have all my other yarn, my sort of crochet yarn, because I mean, when you're making a massive blanket, it's actually not affordable to use wool. Wool's expensive, so you would use acrylic. But also, you want, if you're gifting the blanket or yourself, trying to hand wash a blanket, my wrists wouldn't take it, and the blanket to felt in the machine. And acrylic for charity blankets is awesome because it's not great for the environment. And as a scientist and an environmental manager, I should be saying go wool. But acrylic's not great for the environment because it's not really degradable. But you know what? It keeps people warm, and they don't have to worry about how they take care of it, and they could wash it however they want to, and it is still going to be fine for many years. And I have on my bed, I've had now for almost probably 8 years, the continental cushion covers made out of acrylic, and it gets thrown into the washing machine, and yeah, it has pulled, but I just take, what do you, I don't know, the pull remover, and it still looks great. So yeah, yarn has its, the different types of yarn has its place and its purpose. But yeah, this episode of Danish Musings got me really thinking about mindfulness and being mindful about what I buy and what I want to do. And I think my dream is to be able to use up what I have before going out and buying new yarn just for the sake of, just because it's a sale, or because I have a voucher, or because something new has come into the market. So that is the dream, is to use what I have. The second podcast I wanted to talk about, and as I said, I'd like to tell you about some of the podcasts I watch. And this one's the Crazy Sock Lady, and many of you probably already follow her. She has a huge following, and she's on weekly. And in episode 189, I found quite interesting because she addressed an issue that many people ask me as well, and it's, how do you knit so fast, or how do you make so many things, or how do you do that? How do you sew like all these clothes for your child? Like, when do you do it? And one of the things that she talks about, which I found very interesting, is that we should never compare ourselves to others. So what if someone knits really fast and you can only do 5 stitches or whatever? And she was just saying, embrace what it is that you do and feel happy with how much you get done in your own progress. And yeah, and I kind of made a few notes, because she says, embrace where we are. It's, whether it's a little or it's not, just be happy with your own knitting. Be happy with where it is, whether it's 5 stitches in a day or a sock a day. Just be happy in your progress and be happy in your life. And we are all in different places in our lives. And I do knit fast, but I do it during other things. So I will knit whilst I'm watching the kids swim, because they've got to go to swimming lessons, and I sit there with my knitting whilst they're swimming. I knit when my son reads to me, which he has to do for about 20 to 30 minutes a day. He's got to read aloud to me, and so I sit and knit whilst I'm listening to him. I probably knit about an hour, maybe 2 hours sometimes before I go to bed, which is when I catch up on all the podcasts or I listen to my audio book. I do need to sleep more. My husband's constantly telling me that I need to sleep more. I'm not great at getting myself to bed, and I am trying very hard to not make it later than 10:30 where I make it into bed. But sometimes I do get carried away, and I mean I could sit all night and be still knitting when the sun's coming out in the morning. So I'm just a bit crazy, I think. So I am trying really hard to sleep a little bit more these days, but just because I'm often not 100% health wise also, and I think rest is important. And my knitting, for me, it's not a race, so I might post a lot, and I might sew up something in an evening, and I have done quite a bit of sewing recently, but I've posted all of that on Instagram, so you can go and have a look. But it's only because I give up on other things. So I'm not watching a lot of TV. For example, I haven't read like an actual book in a long time because I'm listening, and so I'm multitasking. I listen and sew at the same time. So and it helps me to relax, because work can be quite stressful, and this is my space where I can be disorganized and do whatever it is that I want. I also have a family that is very understanding, and I have an amazing husband who understands my need to be able to spend this time, doing my craft stuff, and he's very supportive. So that really helps. So yes, the two podcasts I'm mentioning today is the Danish Musings, which I've done before, but really I liked the way she expressed stash and hoarding and having too much yarn, and I have too much of everything, actually. So whether it be yarn, fabric, cross stitch, whatever, and yes, it brings me joy, and I find it difficult to let go of it, but it also actually worries me a little that I do have so much, and it does take up a lot of space. And so yes, so that's the one thing, and I apologize for that noise. I'm sure you can hear it. I have no idea what it is, but it sounds like it's like one of those rattling things. So yes, that is what I wanted to say. I spoke about my work in progress. I did speak about some of my sewing projects. They're on Instagram. I've made leggings for Talia, leggings, tights, leggings. They're leggings. I also did her this long sleeve tunic style dress, which I'm going to make a few more of because she loves wearing stockings to school. So it's this thing, I've got to wear a dress with stockings. I'm going to make a few more of that, and I've also mentioned the pattern and where the patterns, I can't remember now. I think it's the Miss Mary Mac tunic. I just can't remember the designer, but all of that's on my Instagram account. And I've mentioned the podcasts and books. I'm listening to something now that is might be disturbing to some people. It's Rick Mofina. It's The Blood of Others. It's murder, and the story is centered around the detective and the the newspaper, what is it, not editor, the writer. So yeah, so it's the guy who writes for the newspaper. I think it's the San Francisco Sun, and it's a detective and how they kind of investigate this case and come up with these different perspectives, and eventually they will end up working together. I know that, and solve the mystery, the murder mystery. But I'm really enjoying that. It's on my Audible. It was one of the freebies that I downloaded, and it expires on the 2nd of July. So I really want to finish it before it expires. And then what am I watching? Nothing new since the last time. I'm still making my way slowly through Friends, and I'm still watching Blacklist. I've not had too much time to watch TV. So yes, that's me. I'm going to stop. I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to leave for this appointment that I have. And at the beginning of the video, I'm going to just show you my Strelitzia, if I can. And our blueberry tree has flowers, so it's very exciting. So I will show you that. But until next time, stay warm. If you somewhere where it's cold, or stay cool if you somewhere where it's really warm at the moment. But have fun, enjoy your crafting, and work at your own pace. It's your project. You are, as the crazy sock lady, well, not the crazy sock, Kay, her name's Kay, but as Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady podcast says, never compare yourself to others. Do it at your own pace. It's your own project, and do what makes you happy. So I hope you find something that will make you happy over the next 2 weeks, craft-wise or otherwise, and I will come back and show you progress on a sweater that I'm going to unravel and start over. So we'll chat soon, and yeah, have fun and take care, everybody. Bye for now.